I avoided Gimmicks in 3D World and Wonder, and both videos did pretty good. Hang on. Avoid Gimmicks in New Super Mario Bros. U? Okay. If you're new to the Gimmick series, here's how it works. Basically, each level has a main gimmick, and I must avoid the gimmick at all costs. The goal is to see how many levels I can clear. A few extra things, I'll do all the main levels, and I'm playing on my 100% save. All characters and power-ups are fair game, and checkpoints are like saves in each level. Let's get into it. Acorn Plains Way was pretty easy since all I had to do was avoid the acorn mushroom, and since it's a power-up, I pretty much just played the level normal. On Tilted Tunnel, there was this large section of blocks that I couldn't clear with a jump, so I tried the acorn mushroom, and that didn't work. I gave it a couple more attempts, but I was able to conclude that it wasn't happening. I decided to give it a few attempts with Peachette too, but nothing worked. On Crushing Cog's Tower, it started out with just a couple tricky jumps, but eventually I got to this section with too many cogs and it wasn't possible. On Yoshi Hill, I was at first able to just jump over the hills. Eventually, I did get to this section where I sadly had to ditch Yoshi, but don't worry, I'm not a monster. I did not throw him in a hole. On Mushroom Heights, yeah, just look at it now. On Rise of the Piranha Plants, I was able to get past the piranhas, and for enemy levels, as long as I don't touch the enemy or the enemy doesn't chase me, I'm fine. The piranha plants aren't going anywhere. On Lemmy Swingback Castle, it at first started out with just a couple of tricky jumps. Eventually I got to this part though, which I couldn't get past with Luigi, but Peachette was able to clear it. It took me a few attempts to get right, but with the help of the safety jump and dry bones, I did clear it. But then I got to this section. This took even more attempts, but eventually I was able to get all the way across, only for the safety bounce to just barely not have enough height to clear this level, so it's sadly impossible. On Blooper Secret Lair, this is an example of the enemies chasing me, therefore it's not possible. But a total of 3 out of 7 levels were possible. Stone Eye Zone was a pretty easy level. The end did require Peachette though. Perilous Pokey Cave required me to avoid Pokies, and if you look, they don't home in on me. Their faces just turned, so this level is possible. Fire Snake Cavern, on the other hand, the fire snakes did home in on me, making this impossible. Stone Slide Tower just required a couple of tricky jumps. And Spikes Spouting Sands was another level where, you guessed it, the enemies home in on me. Another level where I spawned on mushrooms, and another level where the enemies home in on me. Oh, and would you look at that? Now it's another level where I can't avoid these blocks. Oh, and look, more levels where the enemies home in on me, making only 3 out of 9 levels possible. Sparkling Waters starts out with Waterspout Beach, which is a pretty easy and fun level to complete. Moving on to Tropical Refresher, it's just a water level and it's just water. Giant Skewer Tower had a lot of skewers, but it wasn't too bad to avoid. Haunted Shipwreck was doors, and if this starting door doesn't count, then this door later on it definitely does. Now we have a streak of pretty easy levels, being Above the Cheap Cheap Seas, Urchin Shoals, Dragon Eel's Undersea Grotto, Larry's Torpedo Castle, and the super fun level Skyward Stalk. Overall, a total of 7 out of 9 levels were possible. Starting off, Frosted Glacier, we have Spinning Star Sky. The end required Peachette, but it was pretty easy. Hooligan Field was also really easy, and so was Freezing Rain Tower, Prickly Goombas, Scaling the Mountainside, and Icicle Cavern. On Swaying Ghost House, it has more unavoidable doors, but Wendy Shifting Castle was a pretty easy level. Flipperous Lake, the enemies turn and attack me from both sides, so not possible, but a total of 7 out of 9 levels were possible. Jungle of the Giants started out pretty easy, but even with Peachette, the ending was not possible. Bridge over Poisoned Water just required the acorn suit, and it was a piece of cake. Bramble Woods was also a pretty easy level, and Snake Block Tower stopped me immediately. Another level that stopped me immediately was Which Way Labyrinth, and this section in Painted Swampland wasn't possible, and the fish bones in Deep Sea Ruins stopped me from making progress. This section of Seesaw Bridge wasn't possible, But Wiggler Stampede was pretty fun and also pretty easy. Iggy's Volcanic Castle was another easy level, and look at how far I got in Flight of the Parabeetles. I made so much progress. The Mighty Cannon Ship wasn't too bad, except for the fact that I almost forgot to play this level. Anyways, a total of 5 out of 12 levels were possible. Fuzzy Clifftop was a pretty easy level, but Porky Puffer homes in on me on Porky Puffer Falls. Grinding Stone Tower just required me to avoid the grolls, and Waddlewing's Nest was another pretty easy level. Light Blocks Dark Tower spawns me on light blocks, and walking piranha plants was pretty fun and not too bad. Thrilling Spine Coaster, I attempted to jump and I couldn't find any blocks to land on, so I ended up shooting the poison. Peachette didn't get me much further. Screwtop Tower had a lot of tricky jumps where I was able to barely clear not using the screws, but this section was just too big for me to clear. Shifting Floor Cave didn't have enough space to squeeze through eventually, but for Roy's Conveyor Castle I was able to avoid the conveyors pretty easily, making a total of 5 out of 10 levels possible. Land of Flying Blocks took a lot of attempts, but I was eventually able to clear it. Seesaw Shrooms required me to touch the platform here, making it impossible. Switchback Hill required me to throw a Koopa shell at this part to squeeze through, but other than that it was no trouble. Slide Lift Tower required me to try to squeeze through the section, but it wasn't possible. Spinning Spirit House had way too many doors. You know how these ghost houses go. Bouncy Cloud Boomerangs just required me to avoid the clouds, and a quick dip in the sky was not possible. Snaking above Mist Valley was 10 times funner without the snake block, and Ludwig's Clockwork Castle had way too many clockworks for me to squeeze through. Boarding the airship had this Bowser hand, which was pretty easy to avoid. If you count the airship section separately, then you could argue the gimmick is this tilt thing, but I'm not going to count that as the gimmick, but a total of 5 out of 10 levels were possible. Also, spoiler warning, final boss and post-game content are coming up. Alright, let's keep going. Meteor Moat was pretty easy because all I had to do was dodge meteors, but Magma River Cruise took a lot of attempts because the slightest mess up meant I had to restart the whole level. I was making progress though, and each time I was getting further and further, but once again, just a slight miscalculation of my jump was a restart. Each time though, I felt like I was getting even further, and I was getting better too, and eventually I got to the end pipe. The level itself wasn't too hard, but stringing everything together definitely took a lot of attempts. However, on Rising Tides of Lava, the difficulty cooled down, but the temperature did not. Firefall Cliffs was also pretty easy, and Red Hot Elevator Ride required me to get pretty precise jumps. I was able to get the timing down pretty well though, up until this section, which was just too high to reach. The final battle required me to avoid the clown car. The beginning was pretty easy, but the end required a lot, and I mean a lot of fireballs. I was able to clear it though, and I was actually able to clear a total of 5 out of 6 levels. Spine Tingling Spine Coaster, I couldn't get anywhere near enough distance, and Run For It was the exact same thing. Swim For Your Life, this giant fish that I forgot the name of homed in on me, and Hammer Swing Caverns, I was able to get pretty far on, but eventually this section was too big for me to clear. On the bright side, Spinning Platforms of Doom was pretty easy, and Firebar Road wasn't too bad, it was just an annoying level. Lakitu just required me to get a lot of height and fly over everything, and Pendulum Castle wasn't that bad. Follow That Shell was another level that was pretty easy, and a total of 5 out of 9 levels were possible, and overall I was able to clear 45 out of 81 levels. If this video does good, I'll try to do Luigi U, so make sure to like and subscribe to see that. But right now, check out this video where I do the same challenge in Mario Wonder. I also now have a new respect for games with restart buttons. I just felt like putting that in the video. Okay, bye.